and the world saw it on that debate stage a few weeks ago, a nearly 80-year-old Donald Trump talking about crowd sizes is not what we need in this moment. But it's not just that. It's those that were closest to Donald Trump that understand how dangerous he is when the world is this dangerous. His chief of staff, John Kelly, said that he was the most flawed human being he'd ever met. And both of his secretaries of defense and his national security advisors said he should be nowhere near the White House. Now, the person closest to them, Donald Trump, said he's unfit for the highest office. That was Senator Vance. I agree. It should not take 7 years for an asylum claim to be done. This bill gets it done in 90 days. Then you start to make a difference in this, and you start to adhere to what we know, American principles. I don't talk about my faith a lot, but Matthew 25:40 talks about, to the least amongst us you do unto me. I think that's true of most Americans. They simply want order to it. This bill does it. It's funded. It's supported by the people who do it, and it lets us keep our dignity about how we treat other people.
Thank you, Governor. And just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status, temporary protected status.
Well, Margaret, but
thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important because
we're going to turn out of the economy. Thank
Margaret,
you.
The rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on. So there's an application called the CBP One app, where you can go on as an illegal migrant, apply for asylum or apply for parole, and be granted legal status at the wave of a Kamala Harris open border wand. That is not a person coming in, applying for a green card and waiting for 10 years. That is the facilitation of illegal immigration, Margaret, by our own leadership.
Thank you, Senator, for describing the legal process. We have so much to get to, Senator.
Those laws have been on the books since 1990. He is still saying he didn't lose the election. I would just ask that. Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of the 2020 COVID situation?
That is a damning non-answer.
It's a damning non-answer for you to not talk about censorship. Obviously, Donald Trump and I think that there were problems in 2020. We've talked about it. I'm happy to talk about it further. But you guys attack us for not believing in democracy. The most sacred right under the United States democracy is the First Amendment. You yourself have said there's no First Amendment right to misinformation. Kamala Harris wants to use the power of government and big tech to silence people from speaking their minds. That is a threat to democracy that will long outlive this present political moment. I would like Democrats and Republicans to both reject censorship. Let's persuade one another. Let's argue about ideas, and then let's come together afterwards.
You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. That's the test. That's the Supreme Court test.
Tim, fire in a crowded theater. You guys wanted to kick people off of Facebook for saying that toddlers shouldn't wear masks.
Senator, the governor does have the floor.
Fire in a crowded theater. That is criticizing the policies of the government, which is the right of every American.
Now, just as the debate started, we were speaking to David Charter, the Times US editor, who's with us again now. David, there has been a little bit of time, an hour or so, for both parties to try and spin the narrative. What have you been hearing?
I haven't really been listening too much to the spin. I've been trying to write my own assessment for the Times, I have to say. We did hear some talk, of course, from the Republicans about just what a strong performance Vance gave, because my own assessment is that he made even the most unpalatable parts of the Trump, especially in the opening section. I think I recorded that there were 11 topics that they got to, and I think I made Walz the winner in just 3 of them. Some of them were a draw, I think, as well. Some of them were quite well contested, like let's say the climate change one. I think Walz did okay, but he should be winning on climate change because that's an issue where voters really back the Democrats. And I think in the first half, I think your previous contributor was talking about just how poorly Walz started the debate, and he was faced with quite a spicy question, actually, which is more difficult for the Democrat candidate, which is, would you support a preemptive strike by Israel on Iran? And of course, what we heard from Walz was a lot of prevarication and trying to turn it on to saying what a terrible guy Donald Trump is, but no answer. Well, that left the field completely clear for Vance, who spent a long time introducing himself because he knew he had a lot of time to play with, but he also gave a clear answer, which was that we support our allies, and if that's what Israel has to do, we support Israel. So it was able to. The way that the debate started allowed Vance to start strongly. I think he would have been delighted with that.
He looked it, actually. You could see him looking over, and I think he thought, this is going to be okay. It was almost kind of a bit of relief from him that I think he realised, okay, I can just sort of kind of ease myself into this.
I think he also saw just how nervous, like all of us did, just how nervous Tim Walz looked.
Yeah. And you just can't hide nerves like that. You can't.
Well, there's no hiding place when you're standing up there in the full glare, and the camera's obviously on you for the whole debate. And we did get a few kind of blank sort of looks from Walz sometimes, and also a lot of time he was looking down and writing notes,
scribbling
rather than
notes,
really paying attention to what Vance was saying, I think, which was a mistake, that he was perhaps trying to remember things that he'd been learning during his prep. I don't know.
Will the Democrats be disappointed?
Well, they will comfort themselves that he finished very strongly. So clearly he got back into the game when it came to healthcare, which was about the 8th or 9th issue that came up. And of course, again, the Democrats should be winning on healthcare because there isn't a Republican plan. And Trump gave this absurd answer in his debate against Harris when he said he'd got some concepts of a healthcare plan. Well, this is 9 years down the road for Trump, that he got some concepts which are not spelled out on how to reform healthcare in America. And this should be an open goal for the Democrats. And indeed, this was the first time I thought that Walz sounded really passionate about a subject, like he'd really engaged with healthcare when he was a congressman, perhaps, and he was really sure of his footing. He really knew his stuff. And he was really angry at the Republicans for trying to take away the opportunity to join what's known as Obamacare. The Affordable Care Act has allowed millions more Americans to sign up for government in healthcare. It's not all plain sailing, and there are drawbacks, but there's no viable alternative proposal on the table from the Republicans. So it is an area where he should have won, but it seemed to relax him. And then the CBS News handed him a great opportunity by coming back to the issue of democracy for the last subject. And this is when I don't know how many Americans will still be watching at this late hour. It was overrunning. It was actually at past the time it was due to finish. It was due to finish at 10:30. This is when they got round to democracy. But Walz gave his best answer on the last topic. And his superpower really is being able to make this sort of sudden break from the chummy, neighborly figure who's a sort of bumbling, reassuring figure. And all of a sudden he snaps into, you know what, this is really serious. And I'm really surprised at you, Senator Vance, for supporting Trump on this. Trump lost the election, but you won't say it, will you? Will you say that Trump lost the election? He finally got angry and turned the tables on Vance for the first time in the whole debate after an hour and a half. And Vance was, I think this was the first time he looked really a bit lost and shifty.
And he couldn't answer.
Trying to wriggle around because he wouldn't answer. He wouldn't say that Trump lost the election because he can't, because it's an article of faith among the Trump inner circle that Trump won the election in 2020 or was cheated out of it. So he wouldn't answer. And the debate would have been we'd be talking about a different debate if that question had come first and set up the rest of the night when most people were watching, and Vance would have been backed into a corner straight away. But instead, I think we're talking about a very strong performance from Vance, and it was only at the end he really was caught out.
It would have given him a big confidence boost as well, had that structure changed the other way round. David, thank you. I'll let you get back to writing your piece for the paper. Really appreciate your time. David Charter, The Times US editor.